One of the quickest routes to end up in the federal detention center is to violate a court order and try to hide your assets. Rudy Giuliani, playing with dynamite again, is about to be sent to the federal detention center because he's hiding his assets and violating a court order to boot in the Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss case. You're on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Take a moment, hit the subscribe button, bring others to do the same. Let's get that vote total up. Let's get that channel durable on the other side of Tuesday. I'm Michael Popok, and I'm at the intersection talking about Rudy Giuliani. Got a big hearing on Thursday now because it turns out he was using moving trucks to move away all of his assets and get them as far away from his creditors and the court's jurisdiction as possible to violate Judge Lyman's order. Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss have been trying to collect a $150 million judgment for defamation and punitive damages for over a year, and Rudy Giuliani has tried every which way to avoid it. He ran to bankruptcy court, and he got thrown out of bankruptcy court for bad faith filing and for failing to provide information and participate in good faith in the bankruptcy filing. Got sent over to federal court. Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss's lawyers went to Judge Lyman and said, Judge Lyman, the judgment is valid. He has no defenses. There is no stay and there's no appeal. Order him to turn over all of his assets. And that's what Judge Lyman did a couple of weeks ago. And he gave him a week to turn over to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, who the judge deputized and appointed as officers of the court themselves to be their own receivers to collect their own money against their own judgment. And so the lawyers for Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss said, all right, 7 days. Where are we? 7 days came and went last week. And Rudy Giuliani was too busy, I guess, at a rally, a Nazi rally, hate-filled rally on Madison Square Garden for his cult leader, Donald Trump. He couldn't be bothered. He also apparently couldn't be bothered to tell the judge that he got moving trucks and moved everything out of the apartment in New York and away from the judge a couple of weeks ago, which Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss's lawyers found out when they finally got the keys to the New York apartment on East 66th Street, and they broke in, and there was nothing in there except for an old broken down dining room table and some other assorted crappy decorator device. Decorating items. That's it. Everything else, the Yankee memorabilia, the oil paintings, the really expensive furniture, the suits, the watches, all of it gone, secreted. You can't do that. You can't do that when a federal judge has put a protective order or an order of restraint around your assets. You have to preserve them. You can't waste them. You can't sell them. You can't divert them. And you can't abscond with them and secrete them outside of the jurisdiction or outside of the place where the judge thinks they are. Nobody told the judge about the moving trucks. Nobody approved the moving trucks. And to compound the problem, the lawyers for Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss have just told Judge Lyman that they also can't find Rudy Giuliani or his lawyers. They've gone dark. They won't answer their questions. They won't tell them where the assets are. Now, maybe in the addled mind of that gas bag of Rudy Giuliani, he thinks if he gets the items away from the judge and moves them to Florida, puts them in his Palm Beach apartment, maybe that'll help. It won't help. In fact, this is the judge that's going to decide whether you get to keep your Palm Beach condo or not. And at the rate you're going, Rudy, I don't think you're keeping your Palm Beach condo either. I mean, Rudy has $10 million in assets. Sounds like a lot, but not when you have $150 million in debt against one judgment creditor. And $2 million of the $10 million is an IOU from Donald Trump, if you can believe it, for attorney's fees never paid. Like they're going to be able to collect that when. So they want his Yankee memorabilia, his watches, his furniture, his bank accounts, his car, and his 2 apartments, which are about $7 or $8 million of the $10 million. And Rudy is trying every which way to avoid it. But the big no-no, the big bucket he stepped in was hiding his assets from the federal judge. The federal judge is annoyed, as you can imagine. He was informed by a status update letter by the lawyers for Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss about what happens. And then the judge immediately converted what was going to be sort of a status check-in call on Thursday into a mandatory appearance for Rudy Giuliani in his courtroom at 500 Pearl Street this coming Thursday at 10 o'clock. Here's what I think's going to happen. The lawyers for Ruby Freeman or Shay Moss are going to give the catalog of contempt acts, contemptuous acts by Rudy Giuliani that got him into this mess. They're going to say, Judge, we got into the apartment in New York. Everything's missing. Everything that we're entitled to, that we own by your order, that you restrained, is gone. That's one. Two, he never told us or you, Judge, that he was going to move it. He never got permission of the court to have moving trucks move things out of his apartment in New York. He's gone dark. He won't tell us where all this stuff is, where all the assets are hidden at all. In fact, he won't return our phone calls. This is all in contempt of court, Your Honor. You should do the following. This is what I think the judge is going to say. I'm going to fine you X amount of dollars. I don't know if that's $10,000 or $25,000. You have 24 hours, and I mean to the dot, to turn over everything I ordered to be turned over immediately. 24 hours. If you don't do it, you are to return and report to the federal marshals to be remanded to the federal detention center on a contempt charge until you comply. And if you don't, or if Rudy decides not to appear, because that's a new MAGA thing, like Donald Trump, don't appear at hearings, even though you're ordered by a federal judge to do it, then he'll just issue a bench warrant or an arrest warrant, have a federal marshal go pick up Rudy Giuliani wherever he's at. If he's in Florida, they'll extradite him from Florida federally, from a federal judge there. He'll be arraigned in Florida, wherever they can find him, brought before a magistrate judge in Florida and arraigned. And the governor of DeSantis isn't going to be able to do a darn thing about it. He has no power to commute any of these orders or change any of these orders at all. So we're going to follow what happens. You can see how much lit dynamite Rudy Giuliani is currently playing with. It's going to blow up in his face. Hard to believe he was once the big bad U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Now he's lost both of his bar licenses. He's indicted in Arizona and in Georgia. He's on the balls of his ass financially. He's an 80-year-old windbag that has no ability to generate any new money. And that's why Ruby Freeman and Shea Moss, before this guy croaks, have to collect all of these assets. And I'm going to help them as much as I can right here. You're on the Legal AF YouTube channel. You're already here. Help the channel grow. We're already at 270,000 plus subscribers in less than 2 months. Hit the subscribe button. That's another vote for today. And help us build a durable channel on the other side of Tuesday. And come back here later in the week after Thursday morning. I'll have more reporting about what happened to Rudy Giuliani. Was I right? Did he get fined for contempt? Did he get remanded to the federal marshal right there? Rudy, you better bring your toothbrush. You may not go home after the 10 o'clock hearing. We'll find out, and I'll report on it on Legal AF, because I'm at the intersection of law and politics every day in every way, 5-6 times a day, and I curate this channel with other contributors that I brought on as well, to not blow smoke or sunshine, but tell you the truth about what's happening at that important intersection of law and politics. And we know it's going to be a busy intersection coming off the election, because Donald Trump is not going to go quietly, right? I would love for him to put us out of our misery and go away. And hopefully with a crushing defeat at the hands of Kamala Harris and blue, that'll happen. But you know the federal and state courts are going to be working overtime up to the United States Supreme Court as part of the master plan of Donald Trump. And we'll follow it right here on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. So until my next podcast, Legal AF, my next YouTube contribution here on the new channel, I'm Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.